All right, today we're diving into some pretty groundbreaking research that might just flip our entire understanding of Alzheimer's disease completely on its head.
For as long as most of us can remember, the story of Alzheimer's has had one main villain, these sticky protein plaques that gum up the works in the brain. But what if we've been chasing the wrong culprit this whole time?
See, the old story told us that Alzheimer's is a disease of gain, the toxic buildup of these amyloid plaques. But this new theory, it suggests the complete opposite. It's a disease of loss, a loss of a critical protective protein in the brain. So, to really get why this is such a huge deal, we need to quickly go back and look at that old story, the one that has really dominated Alzheimer's research for decades. The idea was pretty straightforward, right? This protein, amyloid-beta, it clumps together, it forms these dense plaques, and these plaques were seen as directly toxic to brain cells. That's what we thought caused the memory loss, the cognitive decline. It all seemed to make a lot of sense. But good science is all about asking questions. And a huge mystery started to poke some serious holes in this long-held theory. Dr. Alberto Aspe, who's the lead author of this new study, points to a massive crack in the old story. He says that actually, a lot of people have brains just full of these amyloid plaques, but they stay perfectly sharp. So if the plaques are the direct cause, how on earth is that possible? And the numbers are pretty staggering. By age 85, a huge portion of the population has these plaques, but only about a fifth of them actually go on to develop Alzheimer's. That is a massive gap, and it really suggests the plaques themselves aren't the smoking gun we always thought they were. So to dig into this whole mystery, Dr. Espe's team did something really smart. They took a look at the data from a bunch of major clinical trials for new Alzheimer's drugs that had just been published. And we are not talking about a small sample size here. They analyzed data from roughly 26,000 people. That is a massive data set, which gives their findings some serious weight. Okay, so this is where the story really takes a dramatic turn, because when they analyzed all that data, they didn't find the villain they were looking for. Instead, a new hero, or maybe a lost hero, came into view. The real key player in this new theory is a protein called soluble A-beta 42. Now, unlike those clumpy, insoluble plaques, this is the original free-floating version of the protein. And it turns out, it's not a villain at all. It's actually a vital molecule that our brain absolutely needs to stay healthy. I absolutely love this quote from Dr. Espe because it makes the whole concept just click into place. The plaques aren't the killers. They're the evidence of the crime. They're like the tombstones left behind after the real hero, that soluble A-beta 42 protein, has already been lost. So, here's how the new theory says it works. First, that healthy, soluble A-beta 42 protein, it acts like a security guard for the brain, defending it from toxins and infections. But in the process of doing its job, it changes form and becomes that insoluble amyloid plaque. So the plaque isn't the problem, it's just the byproduct. The real problem is that the brain is losing its supply of that protective A-beta 42. And this right here is the fundamental shift. Dr. Espe sums it up perfectly. We've got to stop thinking of Alzheimer's as a disease caused by gaining something bad, the plaques, and start seeing it as a disease caused by losing something good, that soluble A-beta 42 protein. And believe me, the significance of this wasn't lost on other experts. Neuropsychologist Dr. Karen Sullivan called these findings a sea change and said they would probably be a shock to most of the neuroscience community. So yeah, this isn't just a small tweak to the theory, it's a potential revolution. So, if we've been targeting the wrong cause this whole time, what does that mean for treatment? Well, this new way of thinking opens up a whole new world of possibilities.
This basically flips the entire goal of treatment on its head. For years, the whole game was about clearing out those amyloid plaques. But if this new theory is right, the goal should be the total opposite. We need to protect and boost the brain's levels of the good guy, that soluble A-beta 42 protein.
Now, it's also really important to remember this isn't all happening in a vacuum. Other experts are pointing out how this new focus lines up perfectly with what we're learning about lifestyle. The Lancet Commission identified 14 risk factors we can actually change, things like treating hearing loss, diabetes, high blood pressure, that could play a role in almost half of all Alzheimer's cases. It seems healthier habits might actually work by preserving our levels of that good, soluble A-beta 42. And this brings up a massive question. The newest amyloid-clearing drugs, they come with some serious risks, like brain swelling and bleeding. So could these lifestyle changes that address those other risk factors give us similar benefits by protecting our vital proteins, but, without all those risks? It's a really compelling idea for future research. And that leaves us with this final, really powerful thought. For decades, the fight against Alzheimer's has been framed like a war, a battle to clear out a toxic enemy. But maybe the future isn't about destruction at all. Maybe it's about preservation, about protecting what's good in the brain, instead of just clearing out what we thought was bad. And that is a profound shift that could really change everything.